war weary. Folks, there seems to be some kind of movement out there, some kind of activity to try to begin World War III. Don't fall for it. This is a new year, 2016. I was born in 1941, the very year that World War II began. In retrospect, down memory lane, I wanted to show you this children's album, record album. And I want to show you that they are records, vinyl records. Irene Wicker was called the Singing Lady. And one of my parents, I don't know who, sent a card in to Irene Wicker's radio program from radio station in Philadelphia sometime in the 1940s. I would imagine it was about 1944, so that would make me about 4 years old or 5 years old, since my birthday's in August. And Irene Wicker would announce when children had birthdays on the radio. And I remember going to elementary school the next day, and the kids all laughed and giggled that they heard Irene Wicker on the radio announcing my birthday. Later, sometime around 1948, she had a short-running television program out of Philadelphia. She was called the Singing Lady. And there's a backstory there, I'm sad to say. The internet claims, but I don't know personally, that she supported Senator Joseph McCarthy in the Senate anti-American hearings. Of course, being 5 or 6 years old at the time, I wouldn't know that. But she was very popular in the Delaware Valley. And one of my favorite songs of hers is I Saw Three Ships Come Sailing In. If I can hit the proper place on the record.
La 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly. La 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 la.
Don we now our gay apparel. La 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 la.
Throw the ancient yoke.
She was also something like a ventriloquist. She would raise or lower her voice
And here's another jolly Christmas song
to
for
fit
the
certain
North of
characters.
England,
This is
which
it.
Little Miss Merry Christmas would like you to sing. Maybe you already know it.
I do.
I saw three ships. I
Saw three ships come sailing in
on Christmas Day, on Christmas Day. I saw three ships come sailing in on Christmas Day in the morning. Pray whither sail those ships all three on Christmas Day, on Christmas Day. Pray whither sailed those ships all three on Christmas Day in the morning. Oh, they sailed into Bethlehem on Christmas Day, on Christmas Day. Oh, they sailed into Bethlehem on Christmas Day in the morning.
I thought she gave a little explanation of what that meant. So there are groups of people out there apparently who are determined to begin World War III. Don't fall for it. This is a book which is actually sort of anti-English or anti-British. The Pity of War. by Ferguson. And remember, the war was going on when I was born. So until I was 5 years old, there were very few young men in the community that I lived in Trenton, who were not in uniform and had more important things on their mind, like survival, than worrying about a little 5-year-old kid. I wanted to show you some pictures from this book. We won't go into too much detail because the pictures are grotesque and horrible looking. This is an iconic picture of a flyer, a pilot, skull, with money in the skull's mouth. Do you understand the allegory? Those people who want to go to war? This is World War I now. But I remember a lot of veterans. There's a corpse in a trench without any skin on. And that corpse was, at one time, a living human being. Remember, World War I, from your history lesson, was trench warfare. The most grotesque and horrible kind of warfare. There's another picture right next to it of a pile of skulls, but the picture's too small. There's a dead soldier's body laying in the field. That former person will never fight again. At least not in this lifetime. A German soldier body caught on barbed wire. Barbed wire was a relatively new invention in war at the time, adding to the horror. Just like a lot of new weapons nowadays. When I was stationed in Hanau, Germany, the Germans were trying to forget the war. These pictures, I'll go through them very quickly so you won't have time. You'll have to use the pause button if you want to look at them. This is the city of Frankfurt's railroad station. Railroad station in German is called a Bahnhof. It must have been very busy during the war. I was stationed there in 1964, 65, 66. There's a picture of me in front of the Bahnhof, the railroad station, before I got so fat. 48 years ago. A lot of changes took place in 48 years. I posted on the internet at the beginning of WordPress a picture of me in uniform, and somehow it disappeared. It disappeared right out of my post. This is a picture of me in the town of Hanau in front of one of our favorite guest houses. That's a German bar for the local people. They pronounce it more or less a guest house or Gasthaus. Guest house is the same in English language, but it's generally not considered to be a bar. This is the old tower in the city of Frankfurt. Frankfurt used to have a city wall around it. The city of Frankfurt. And this is all that remains. The wall's tower. This is me in Hesse. By the way, this is a park in the city of Hanau. And this is why I believe in reincarnation. Because the place that I lived, the second time my family moved, we moved not far from the trail that George Washington used from Valley Forge to go to the city of Princeton, New Jersey, where the Continental Congress was meeting at the time. And there were skirmishes all along that trail, the Continental Trail. Matter of fact, if I get the chance, I'll go back there and take some videos. This is a picture of one of the guest houses that we used to drink at. Bars, if you will. But these were not regular GI places. These were mostly for the local people. You very seldom saw GIs in military people. This is another bar that we used to visit. Sitting there for 4, 5, 6 hours, getting drunk as a skunk on German beer. And of course they had sausages, schnitzel. That's me, and a lot skinnier then, in the town of Hanau, next to one of the royal residences. Remember, Germany was relatively late in unification, and most of the towns in Germany had their own counts and their own royalty. And this was one of the royal residences. This is a picture of me at the Spitzhug in Garmisch. I think Garmisch is in Bavaria, I'm not sure. It's another picture of me on the Spitzhug. There's a restaurant at the top of the mountain. And of course we drank beer. We drank beer until we couldn't stand anymore. And that's a story in itself. There's me eating a Wurst, a sausage, a German sausage, at the beer garden. Now the sad part is that the English and the Germans still haven't forgotten World War I and World War II. I visited my step-cousin in England, in the town of Newcastle on the Tyne River, I think. The reason I'm showing you this is because this is a minstrel show that was playing at the time. And you might think it's racist, but remember, this was in England. And I wanted to take a picture of a constable, a British police officer, and the officer obliged me to pose for the picture. Yeah, a minstrel show playing in downtown London. This is a picture of me and my step-cousin at her home in Newcastle on Tyne River. I guess none of us look the same anymore, so I don't have to require any permission to show these pictures. And to actually prove that I was in London, there's a double-decker bus that I'm standing next to. Remember, this is down memory lane, folks. A lot of memories, a lot of drunken nights associated with this. There's a picture of me in Hyde Park, London. And the second proof that I was in London, there's Tower Bridge. Yeah, Tower Bridge behind me. So there's not very few places that could fake that unless it's CGI. right? This is the famous London Tower where the crown jewels are kept. I saw the crown jewels with my military buddies. There's London Tower. And the royal regalia, the Queen's crown, and the royal mace and other things are kept in the tower. This is the small town of Cheshire, which is a walled city. Very interesting little town to go to. It's actually not a little town, but the wall contains the town. And again, to prove that I was in London, unless you think that's CGI, there's Big Ben and Parliament behind me. I had planned on retiring in Europe until I hurt my back. I slipped a disc in my back. And I don't think it would be appropriate for me to try to live off of their welfare system. I'm not a parasite. I like to do things on my own, even if I'm in pain. I wanted to prove to you that I can travel overseas. This is my passport. This is my passport. I jokingly said on one of the posts on the website that I needed a passport in case I had to flee the country in a hurry. That was a joke. But I'll tell you, if there's World War III, nobody will be going anywhere. You saw the pictures of the horror from World War I. And when I was a little boy, my father would point out old soldiers who had suffered from gas poisoning, where their lungs were burnt from breathing in the poison gas, and the mustard gas, and the blistered gas where their skin broke out in big pusses of mucus pouring off their skin, and blinded from the mustard gas. I had a picture that I copied from Argosy magazine, but I was high on tobacco, chewing tobacco at the time, and somehow my poor brain got the trash mixed up with the things I wanted to save, and I threw the picture away from the Argosy magazine. It showed a babushka, a grandmother with a wheelbarrow in downtown Berlin, and she was on a sanitary squad, and that doesn't mean cleaning toilets. She was picking up dead bodies. If I'm not mistaken, one of the central churches in downtown Berlin is called Jungfraukirchen or Fraukirchen. Jungfrau meaning virgin, meaning a reference to the Virgin Mary, I presume. The church was in the background. Babushka was with her wheelbarrow, and piled up behind her was a huge stack of dead bodies. You could tell from the clothing the gender of the different bodies, male and female, all heaped together. It was one of the most grotesque pictures I have ever seen in my life. If you survive World War III, you, the survivor, might be assigned to a sanitary squad picking up dead bodies. And you won't have any choice. You either do it or they will kill you. From New York City, high atop the Empire State Building, a network, television network that is off the air now, called Dumont, had a film in its library, not to be confused with the rock musical Tommy, but a very sentimental film made during World War II about a fire brigade officer called Tommy, who couldn't fight in the army because of disability. So they assigned him to a fire brigade. And the film was very sentimental, showing the Blitz, the bombing of London, and the suffering and the horror, the people living in the underground subway, and the things they have to compete with one another, and the bombs falling. And the climax of the film was, even though Tommy had disabilities, he still fought in the war. And the film ended with brave Tommy with his fire hose going into a burning building that collapsed on top of him, killing him. Of course, it was war propaganda. But don't you think that things like that didn't happen? Thank you for watching this video, and try to have a good day. And remember, some people out there want to see World War III. And if you feel anything at all, any human emotion at all, you will not be able to stand the horror that they have waiting for you if there is such a thing as World War III. And seriously, in honesty, whatever God there be, may intervention come before that day, because very few people will live through it, and the ones who do live through World War III will wish they were dead. Again, thank you for watching this video. And let's hope that the warmongers, the hawks, and even people who call themselves Christian evangelicals don't encourage the apocalypse by aggravating a situation that doesn't need aggravation but needs to be smoothed out. Calm and relax.